Recognizes the gentleman from New York, Mr. Garbarino, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Excuse me. Thank you, Mr. Secretary and the Director, for coming today. I want to start off first with Ms. Secretary Mayorkas. Fiscal year 2021 National Defense Authorization Act, which was enacted January 1st, directed the administration to develop a continuing of the economy plan. As we came upon the 1 year, and they were supposed to finish it by the end of this year. As we came upon the 1 year mark last year, I sent a letter to you as well as Director Easterly, expressing my immense concern about the lack of progress. I never received a response. Then 15 months after the authorization was done, the President finally handed over the authority to CISA, pretty much setting up the agency for a failure. We're now over a little bit of a month before the deadline, and we have yet to receive any information on where CISA or the department is on the development of the continuation of the economy plan. And again, we sent that letter, and we still have received no response. You talked about cybersecurity in your opening remarks. The development of this continuation of the economy plan is a national security imperative for the safety, security, and prosperity of the U.S. economy. So can we please have an update where we are on the development of this plan, which is due in less than 2 months?
Congressman Garbarino, I'll look forward to following up on that for you and responding swiftly. I'll have to look into that.
When?
Where the report that is due to you is.
Okay. The report is due in 2 months, but I've sent 2 letters, both to you and Director Easterly, and I've received no response at all. When can I expect a response?
Let me follow up with you very quickly on that, Congressman.
Okay. I appreciate that. I have another question for you, Mr. Secretary, because you also talked about it a little bit in your opening statement. Earlier this summer, Canada became the last member of Five Eyes intelligence pooling alliance to bar or restrict the use of Huawei equipment within its 5G telecom network. In addition, Canada's ban also includes equipment made by ZTE, which is one of China's biggest tech companies and one that is state-owned. The United States and Canada work in partnership at and beyond our borders to enhance security, sharing critical infrastructure. So it's critically important that the U.S. can trust Canada's or any other of our allies' 5G equipment and software will not threaten our national security, economic security, and privacy, or intellectual property. As the world becomes increasingly connected via the rise of 5G networks, how can vulnerabilities brought on by other nations' 5G networks, such as those with Huawei equipment, how can we make sure they don't pose a national security risk?
Congressman, your question is so very important. Let me share with you. Number one, Canada is a very, very close security partner with us. We have a robust information sharing architecture with them. They are one of the participants in our regular dialogues in the area that you have identified and in so many other homeland and national security areas. I was just in Singapore about 3 weeks ago, speaking about the very issue that you've identified and really communicating a very clear and stark call to countries in the Indo-Pacific region about the vulnerabilities that are created when we allow China, the People's Republic of China, to control some of the architecture.
Can I ask you what their response?
Such as 5G.
What was their response when you brought that? Because we're already doing it, but our allies, there's some of them that aren't doing it and some of them that will have not updated. They put these plans in place and they haven't updated current infrastructure with Huawei technology.
Congressman, it is our responsibility to communicate information, to communicate accurate information with respect to the perils of having infrastructure, communications infrastructure in the hands of nation states that don't protect freedoms and rights, as do we.
Okay. Well, I think though, if some of our allies are not willing to, protect their vulnerabilities like we are, especially with Huawei, we should maybe be a little more careful in the future deciding what we're going to share with them, just because we don't need the enemy knowing what we know. And I have a final question for Director Wray. According to an August 2019 UN report, North Korea has generated an estimated $2 billion for its weapons of mass destruction program using cyber attacks. Then again, we had just in April, North Korea hackers stole $620 million in cryptocurrency from video game Axie. They are, they've been doing this for a very long time, and they're getting a little aggressive. What are we doing to stop these hackers? Or what actions have been taken?
The gentleman's time has expired. The witness may answer the question.
Well, you're right that I think North Korea sometimes gets, and I think dangerously so, overlooked as a significant cyber threat because we spend so much time, very rightly, talking about China, Russia, and Iran. But North Korea has a growing espionage in addition to theft and attack capability, in some ways sort of similar to Iran in recent years in particular, and especially targeting, as you say, financial institutions, cryptocurrency exchanges, and so forth, because they need it to fund their regime because of the effectiveness of the sanctions that are otherwise exist. So we are actively investigating any number of North Korean threat actor groups when we're able to catch somebody who's working with them in a country that we can extradite from. That's a very important part, both in terms of ensuring accountability, but also in terms of disrupting their efforts and in terms of learning valuable intelligence about their techniques, tactics, and procedures. In addition to that, it helps us figure out how to further tighten the sanctions regime to make it harder for them to find loopholes, which they're always looking for.